Personal development is a really great place to start if you want to improve the results that you're getting in your life and in your career. So in today's video, I want to share 3 key areas that you can begin developing personally today that are going to dramatically improve the results that you are getting in your writing, in your career as a creative, and they're really going to help to change the way that you work as well. What I really love about personal development is that it puts you in control. I find that as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as a writer, there are many factors in my life and in my career that seem out of my control. So I love that when I focus on my own personal development, I'm bringing the power back to me. So if you like the idea of that, if you like the idea of really claiming that power, of being able to do things that give you control, and you're new here, then you might want to consider subscribing to this channel so that I can help you make sure that you are in control of your career success. So let's dive into personal development. As I said, I'm going to look at 3 areas today. So the first area is physical. And I'm putting it at number 1 because I really believe that this is the most important. So this is about energy. If we are not feeling physically vital, if we don't have that sense of energy within us, it can really affect us in so many different ways. So for example, we might be coming up with great ideas, but we might be waking up every morning and we might be thinking like, oh God, I really just want to go back to bed. And so if we've got that sense of our body not being strong enough, if we've got that sense of our body often being low in energy, it can really have an impact in the amount we want to go after an idea or our confidence in really seeing a project through. And confidence is really key because self-doubt can often be more of a result of low energy in the body rather than our actual ability. So let me explain how you can start to personally develop in this area. First of all, it's to start to really just think about your levels of energy, really start to think about how you feel physically. And when we start to become aware in that area, we then know how to make change. So for example, if you do feel sluggish in the morning, or it might be that you find afternoons really difficult, you kind of have this slump in the afternoon and you find it really challenging to be creative in that area. So it's to start to look at specific ways that you can improve your energy. Now, this video isn't going to go into that. Really, in this video, I'm taking you through the 3 main areas that you can focus on. So it's an encouragement to you to start doing research about how you can improve your energy levels and to start to look at some of my other content around that area. So the final thing around energy is to really start to be honest about how you're treating your body. I would say that the majority of us often treat our cars better than we treat ourselves. So for example, you wouldn't put the wrong fuel in your car. If your car is a petrol car or your car's a diesel car, you wouldn't turn up at the garage and put Coca-Cola inside it. And yet we often put the wrong fuel into our bodies. And so it's to start to really think, how are you fueling yourself? How are you driving yourself? We wouldn't drive our car in first gear on the motorway. So again, how are you pushing yourself? Are you getting rest? Are you putting your body away in the garage overnight? i.e., are you getting enough rest and recuperation so that you can start the day feeling really charged and feeling full of imagination? If we have ideas, but we feel weak in our body, we're going to be much more inclined to be like, oh, do you know what? I'll start this whole idea tomorrow, or maybe next month when I'm feeling better. And then of course, next month comes along, and because we haven't personally developed our energy, our physical side, we're still not ready to see those projects through. So it's to really bear in mind that that's the first place to start to develop the physical. So let me take you on to number 2. So number 2 is spiritual. Now, listen, I'm not saying that we all have to become really spiritual people in order to have success in our career. So spiritual doesn't simply mean sitting in temples, meditating for 3 hours a day. Spiritual for me encompasses a whole host of areas, which I'm going to take you through. So I think the most foundational for me, the spiritual development, is having a willingness to believe that you are special and you are unique. That belief, just as a foundation, it nourishes your soul and it really allows you to start to open your mind to your potential. And I find in this area, so we start with having this belief that we're special and unique, and then we build 3 layers onto that. So the first layer within the context of spiritual is to study something. Now, we want to be studying really continuously if we want to be achieving success and we want to have fulfillment in our careers as creative entrepreneurs or writers. So you could be studying in many different ways. You might be studying the craft of writing. You might be taking time to learn about mindfulness or meditation. You might be taking time to study those who have achieved success in similar areas to you. So it's really allowing yourself time each day to study something. And then once you do the study, you come onto that second foundational layer in the category of spiritual, which is to start to practice. It isn't enough to just study and read and learn. We want to start putting that knowledge into practice. The beauty of this is when we start to learn and then we start to take action or we start to practice, we really start to build our sense of self, and then that reinforces that belief that we're special and unique. So you can start to see that this whole spiritual aspect is really nourishing and it's feeding into itself so that it starts to get stronger and stronger. So again, practice what you're learning about the craft of writing, practice what you're learning about business techniques or marketing, or practice what you're learning about meditation or mindfulness, or put into practice the things that others are doing who have achieved success in the same area. So practice is a really lovely one, and it will start to grow your confidence because you'll be making these little practices and you'll start to be achieving miniature successes, and then you'll really start to understand that the more you develop yourself personally, the better you get. Your efforts are being rewarded. The third layer that we put in the spiritual is to teach. Now, this is important for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, it's so wonderful to start giving back. That really grows us as spiritual beings. And again, it really reinforces that feeling that we are special and unique. When we start to teach others, we start to give back, we start to make an impact in other people's lives, we feel really full, we feel really golden and special within ourselves. And again, that's going to help us develop more as a personal human being. It's going to help us really start to believe in ourselves more. The other beauty of beginning to teach is that we start to reinforce what we're learning. So all of the things that we're studying and practicing, when we start to teach them, we reinforce our understanding, we start to get clear. Sometimes I find when I've learned something new and then I'm starting to teach it to somebody else, I think I'm really clear, but then as soon as I start teaching it, I think, oh, hang on, there's a few gaps in my knowledge. So I find teaching really useful. It sort of tests out how much I really do know about a subject, and it shows me where I need to flesh out my knowledge, especially if we start then getting questions and we're like, oh, actually, I can't answer that question. So teaching is that final component within that whole area of spiritual. And again, it starts to reinforce the belief that we are special and unique. So that's the second area. Let's go on to the third area that you can really begin to develop personally. And again, a lovely area that's really going to feed back into what you're doing as a writer, as a creative entrepreneur. So this third area is mental. So I like to think in this area, I suppose the best way to put it is think bread for the head. So literally food or bread for the head or food for your mind. So you want to be thinking about all of the ways that you can feed your mind. And really, we're doing this because if you are creating a body of work, so if you're a writer and you're creating essays or books, or if you're an entrepreneur and you're running programs or you're selling products, you're producing. And what are you producing from up here? So if you imagine the head almost like a cupboard in your pantry, you need to have a lot of ingredients up here in order to produce something. And so you need to be feeding your pantry, you need to be stocking it with wonderful ingredients. So what are you putting in there? I also find it really useful to imagine that you have a guardian at the door to your pantry. So if you want to be creating these wonderful products, or you want to be producing really inspiring work, you want to make sure that you're not letting junk into your pantry. So for example, you certainly want to be listening. You want to be listening to people who are talking about interesting things, but you want to be really careful about what you're listening to. So when you start to hear people talking about things, again, question yourself, do I want to let this into my pantry? Is this bread for my head? Or is this junk food that is going to dilute my ideas? Is this junk food that's going to make me feel like my ideas aren't good enough to start creating and producing from? So those are really key areas around that mental stage of personal development, to start to think about what you're putting in your pantry, this bread for the head, to start to really have that gatekeeper at the door to your pantry, so you're not just letting in any ideas, you're not just letting in any thoughts, and to really start to think about the quality of what you're letting in is going to have a direct impact on the quality of what you're putting out. So we've got 3 levels. We've got the mental, which was the last one we looked at, which was the bread for the head. And then we looked at spiritual. And then that first level we looked at, which was physical. So all of those combined, those 3 vital areas of personal development are going to enable you to have control so that you can start creating the way you want, living the way you want, and earning the way you want. If you like the idea of that, if you like the idea of really focusing in those areas and having that control, then why not check out the link below where you're going to find access to a free masterclass that I've put together. Create, live and earn the way that you want. You can fill in your details and you can start watching the free class straight away today. It's filled with loads of great information. It's filled with loads of great writing prompts that are going to enable you to have total clarity about how you can make an income and how you can make an impact. So I hope you really enjoyed today's personal development video. I'd love to hear in the comments below, which of these areas do you think that you're already developing in? Which of these areas do you think might be the biggest challenge? Let me know in the comments below what you learned today and share with me some of the ideas that you've got from today's video. I would love to hear from you. And I will see you on the sofa next week. Take care until then.